YouTubers, Mike Martin's here, Mike Martin's channel. I got a really good article that was put up a couple hours ago. I just found it randomly looking for articles in the news. And this one's really good. It's called The Dark Side of the Boom. And it looks like it's by the Globe and Mail. And it says rock bottom interest rates have made big mortgage look less expensive, lighting a fire under house prices. But for many homeowners, when the rates start rising, it won't end well. And this is by Rob Carrick. He reports this. Now, I don't know if you guys know who Max Kaiser is. He's got a show called The Kaiser Report. And he's been predicting the low interest rates. Not predicting, but telling. It's been plain sight for everyone to see. The low interest rates attracting people to invest. And what's happened, it's free money. The interest is low. It's practically free, right? But what happened was, why we didn't go too much down in 2008, 2009 and kind of bounce back real quick was because of the offshore market investing in Vancouver. So a lot of offshore investors were investing in Vancouver, and that refueled the housing bubble here to maximum capacity that it's at right now. Unheard of prices. $3-4 million for a teardown. You can't even. It's a piece of land that's maybe 800-900 square meters. Tiny piece of land. And what's happened is, I've noticed it over the years. It's been fueling. So instead of crashing, the lax mortgage rules and the lax background checks for foreign investors allowed more of them to come in and invest in Canada, where the typical Canadian has to go through left and right hoops to try and get anything approved, and made it hard for the day-to-day guy, or the average non-investor that wants to buy a home for his family. Now, let's go forward and see what this article says. Through the years of weak economic growth, up and down stock markets, and miserable returns on cash savings, the housing market has delivered for Canadians by making them wealthier. Definitely. Parking your money in homes is definitely a more solid and secure way. House prices used more or less track the inflation rates, which the feeble 1.5% between 2008 and 2015 because of the stunned economic growth. But in cities across the country, prices have jumped 5%, 7% annually over the same period. Imagine getting that back on a bank account. Prices in Greater Vancouver have doubled in just a decade, while prices in Greater Toronto have doubled since 2004. House prices have also risen sharply in mid-sized cities such as Yukon, Saskatoon, Brandon, and Thunder Bay. Rising house prices make people wealthier on paper, but they also threaten seriously damage the personal finances of those who borrow more than they can truly afford to when they buy a home. While most Canadians can handle the payments, the ranks of those suffering financial stress from oversized debt is growing, and quickly. The Bank of Canada says the proportion of in-debt households that owe at least 3.5 times their gross income has doubled since the financial crisis. So households owe at least 3.5 times their gross income has doubled. That's phenomenal. This cohort of most heavily indebted Canadian families represent 720,000. Let me just get this other paper here. Wow, they're stuck together. Just one sec, guys. 720,000. High wire act with no safety. A recent survey by Manulife found that 1/4 of people have just $1,000 set aside for emergencies. A dismally inadequate amount of many standard of financial planning. So they have $1,000 put aside for emergencies. That doesn't even get you a plane ticket out of here if there's an emergency. Credit lines and credit card balances have surged since 2008, in part because some families must borrow to make ends meet. That's what I was talking about a few weeks ago about the TDS, total debt service ratio. Go online, find out what your TDS is. There's online calculators for you that actually calculate your TDS. If it's over 40%, then depending, if it's 40 or 45%, then that means you're living off credit to buy food. In the longer run, high mortgage payments can crowd out retirement savings, forcing people to work longer or retire with lower standard of living. Parents may not be able to save their children's post-secondary education, which could lead to more student debt in the years ahead. And that's the other little Ponzi scheme, is the student debt, buying into student debt, buying into thinking that a higher level of education will make you more attractive on a resume. And yet, it's difficult to persuade many Canadians that buying too much home can cause lasting harm in their financial health. You're arguing with success on a huge scale, says Moshe Malskivi, finance professor at York University, Socialist School of Business, and author of several books on personal finance and investing. There's nothing that people could have done that would have resulted in a better return than housing over the past 5 years. The gold market was pretty good for a while. Some metal market did really well. I did really good on some gold and silver mines. I did pretty well on physical gold. Gold in the last 5 years was at a really low, not all, like slightly low, and did really well. The pot stock did really well. If you followed me on Canopy Growth and stuff like that, that did really well for me. Yeah, there's many avenues, but you just need to kind of go off the beaten path. Let's continue here. But look inside the finances. Canadian homeowners shows that their cost of this housing-generated wealth, years of low interest rates, have driven up house prices even as income growth has stagnated. That means people buying homes are devoting ever larger blocks of their take-home pay to their mortgages and other housing-related costs. To afford a first home, people have always had to give up things such as restaurant, meals, vacation, visits to the mall, and the list is growing. Look around you and you'll see that all things people are sacrificing are a result of their mortgage. This is what the professor says. In the near term, the biggest risk for people with big mortgage payments is that they will find it difficult to adjust to a long expected interest rate increase. And that may just have begun with the mid-November uptick in mortgage rates. Even modesty, higher rates might require families to curtail the consumer spending has sustained the economy in recent years. So that extra spending and those people borrowing against their home with their lines of credit, thinking that their houses are going to go up forever and they can live off that line of credit, using that. And that's been actually helping the economy because they're buying food, clothes, and they're buying things to keep other jobs in business, right? Or other people in business, right? The credit monitoring firm of TransUnion reported that 718,000 people with debt would be seriously affected, and interest rates of just 0.25 percentage point increase. So I'm going to leave the link below for you guys to read this article. And I actually want to tell you, I'll call it the Arizona story, okay? And I had a guy come into my shop today. We're talking about housing and this and that. And he says he's watched my show and he watches it very regularly. And he enjoys my offbeat topics or my offbeat personality on spin of things. And he told me today that basically it's almost like an appearance for him. He told me he bought a house here, stretched himself out beyond more than what he can to compete with his brother. He has a twin brother, actually, in Arizona. And his twin brother in Arizona has a 8-bedroom, 6-bath, I think he told me, with 4-car garage. And I think he ended up paying $204,000 for this house in Arizona. But the thing is, he's like, oh, my brother has a house. Why don't I have a house? So he actually went out on a limb and overstretched himself beyond what he could afford. And now he did the whole line of credit thing to basically buy food and in hopes that the house goes higher than what he's borrowing against it, so that if he does sell, he can walk away with a small profit or a big profit. But he bought a year and a half ago, and that was the wrong time to buy. And yes, the house did go up substantially, but he did spend substantially against the house. And he told me straight up, I had to compete with my brother. You know, it's a rivaling sibling, or whatever you want to call it. Siblings fighting over or competing with each other. And that happens a lot in family. It's a good thing to have competition, especially, you know, when you want to better your family and stuff and better your life, and, you know, provided you're not cheating people out of, you know, cheating family and screwing friends over. No, I'm talking about good, healthy competition, right? But he told me, man, he was almost in tears. He was telling me, he's like, man, he's got to sell, and he's already lowered his price. Now he's going underwater. Now he's basically underwater, and he's not sure what he's going to do in the next 2-3 months. Should he continue? Because he's cutting his losses and saying if he rented, he'd be saving $3,000 a month if he rented, and walked away and filed bankruptcy or whatever the deal was. So that's just keeping up the appearance to basically be at par with his brother in Arizona, and the buying power is different down there, right? So I just wanted to put that story out there. I just wanted you guys to know that. And he wanted me to share this story with you guys too. He actually said, I said, do you want to go on my show? He's like, no, I don't want to talk about this. You know, I don't mind you talking about it and telling people my story. And his was basically keeping up the appearance, I guess you would want to call it. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. I'll leave a link below. It's got some graphs. It's a long article. It's a really good in-depth article. It came out a few hours ago. Comment below. Let me know. I mean, yes, the Ponzi scheme. Yes, park your money in real estate's the best thing. But I never parked my money in real estate. I never really... Now it's not as liquid. 2 years ago, you put your house for sale on Monday, Wednesday you're signing papers, and by Friday you're out. Now, it's not as liquid as it was before. And it's not liquid anymore. So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think. Read the article, comment below. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.